So I'm on a quest. I want to find an electronic version of the original Star Wars trilogy that I can enjoy over and over again. It's not been easy to find. It left me with an interesting dilemma. Should I try to track down this mysterious 4K77 version? Or should I use my 20-year-old VHS copy to make my electronic copy? Stay tuned and I'll tell you what happened. I was 5 years old when the first Star Wars movie came out in 1977. It excited my imagination. I loved it. George Lucas released his updated versions of the original trilogy. He basically used the CGI, the computer-generated images, in order to enhance the special effects on the original films. When he released these versions, he basically said that this was the vision he had all along. He just waited for the technology to catch up with what he wanted to do. And like many fans, when I saw the 1997 version in the theaters, I was stunned. It was beautiful. We had the new aliens, we had enhanced monsters. The sequence of the X-Wing fighters attacking the Death Star was beautiful. In The Empire Strikes Back, I absolutely loved what he did with Bespin. But along with the good, there was a little bit of bad. So even though I enjoyed the special editions, the fact is I wasn't a fan of all the changes. Two of the more egregious changes involved Han Solo. The first, which a lot of people were upset with, was the infamous Han shot first scene. Now, this isn't a trivial issue. The fact is, we needed that scene in order to establish that Han's character started out as being one of the scum and villainy available at Mos Eisley. It was kind of like the Wild Wild West in American history. The other reason why that scene is important is that it helps show Han's development throughout the entire trilogy, from a scoundrel in Episode 4 till we get to Episode 6, where he's a respectable rebel who's fallen in love with Princess Leia. The second scene is the one that involves Jabba the Hutt. Even though it's interesting to see what Lucas was thinking in the 1970s when he filmed this, the fact is, once we get to Return of the Jedi and then The Phantom Menace, Lucas characterizes Jabba the Hutt far differently than he's presented in A New Hope. You see, Jabba is characterized not only as a gangster in those two films, but as essentially the ruler of Tatooine. And if he had so much power and prestige, then why would he come himself to the launching pad in Mos Eisley to confront Han Solo when he's got underlings to do that? So there is this project called 4K77. 4K77 was a project by fans of the original trilogy to try to create a quality electronic version of the original Star Wars as it first appeared in theaters in 1977. They actually found the reel dating back to 1977 when the film was released in theaters and used that to create the electronic file that was faithful to the original showing. There's just one problem with the 4K77 project. No one wants to put a direct link to the result, that is, to the files, on the World Wide Web. Maybe it's a copyright issue, I don't know. What I do know is that the actual version they created is available on a part of the internet which is called Usenet. And to access this part of the internet, to find these files, and let alone to play them, you essentially have to get a PhD in computer science. It's not easy. To be honest, when I started this project, I really didn't have the goal of transferring my Star Wars tape to electronic files. I really wanted to transfer some old home movies that I had on VHS C tapes to electronic files. But having bought the equipment, it made sense that I should at least give it a try. This is the video converter that I bought off of Amazon. It was less than 40 bucks. On the one end, you have the S cable or the RCA cables that you plug into your VCR, and the other end you plug into the USB port of your computer. It also came with its own software, so you could go ahead and start video capturing right away. Now, I'll give the company credit because their customer service was very responsive. However, they were only responsive by email because, well, they were located in China. Nonetheless, because I didn't have a CD-ROM drive, they did send me a link so that I could download the software. Since I had the video capture card and since I had the VCR, I decided I was going to start with Star Wars. This is what got me excited. This is the 1995 version of the original trilogy. This was the last version that was released before George Lucas used his computer graphics in order to create the special editions. As I understood it, Lucasfilms didn't have any of the original films around from 1977 in order to re-record the original Star Wars as it was released in the theater. So in order to recreate those versions, Lucasfilm would have to start with the special edition and back all the special effects out. But the problem is, they never re-released the original versions again. In fact, even after they released Disney Plus, they never released the original Star Wars film, that is, the version that existed when it was released in the movie theater in 1977 for streaming. So here are my first attempts, and what you're going to see is that I had some color issues and I had some sound issues.
We're doomed. Tomorrow I want you to take that R2 unit to Anchorhead and have its memory erased.
What a piece of junk.
She'll make 0.5 past light speed. She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid.
So I contacted the company to tell them about this problem, and they did their own research and got back to me with a tool to try to solve the color problem. So here's a clip, and you'll see it did fix the color problem, and the sound was passable.
Lord Vader, the battle station plans are not aboard this ship, and no transmissions were made. An escape pod was jettisoned during the fighting, but no life forms were aboard.
By this time, it was dinner time, so I figured I'd give it a break, and I'd come back after dinner and I'd try to record the entire movie. And therein was my next problem. When I tried to record the movie again, I got a message that I was unable to record. Now, if you're tech savvy, you've probably guessed what the problem is already, but don't give it away because there's a story here to be told. So I put it aside. I wrote the company another email to explain what was happening. So the next day, the company came back, and their advice was essentially to uninstall everything, take off the video capture card and uninstall all the drivers, uninstall all the programs, and then basically start from scratch, and they gave me another program to try to fix the problem. So I followed their advice. So as you can see, I'm just getting a blue screen now. But I know it's hooked up. I know that the device is hooked up because if you listen, you can hear the audio. Now, once again, if you're tech savvy, you've figured this out. Now, I'm not going to get into too much technical detail, but basically in 1985, the movie companies figured out a way to protect their videotapes from being copied by another videotape. They came up with a rudimentary copyright protection. When you record an image on a videotape, not all of the image is actually shown on your television. So on the bottom, on the part that's not visible on a television, the movie companies came up with an idea to put a number of black and white boxes, and the white boxes would fade in and out. And this would interfere with the way a VCR would interpret another VCR tape. And instead of being able to record a VCR tape of another VCR tape, your second VCR would essentially go haywire. Well, the video capture software is designed to find those boxes, and if they see those boxes, understand that there's a copyright protection, and therefore not let you record an electronic version of the VCS tape. So I'm a lawyer, and what the video companies have done is basically annoyed me because it's perfectly legal to have your own VHS copy of a movie and to create another copy of that, whether it's an electronic copy, a DVD copy, or another VHS tape, as long as it's for your own purposes, for your own viewing. Now, you can't sell it, you can't use it commercially, but it's for your own personal use. There's nothing illegal about that. So I did some more research, and what I discovered was that there was a way to fix this problem. There's a device called a video clarifier. And if you put this clarifier on between the VCR and the computer, you can fix the signal so it takes away those boxes and lets you copy the VHS tape. The problem is that these video clarifiers can run between $80 to $200. And you're left with the question of, is it worth it? This was a particularly interesting question when you considered that subscribing to a Usenet or subscribing to a news group only costs $10 a month. And if I could figure out all the steps needed, well, it would be cheaper just to find the 4K 77 version than it would be to try to get all the equipment necessary to copy my VHS tapes. So that's what I set out to do. And here's the news group that I joined. And yes, I paid $10. Turned out that the software was easy to download, easy to use. The problem is that it wasn't that easy to search. The files are not named 4K77. Instead, what you need to do is to find the Star Wars news group and then look for the video files and see the files that are marked Episode 4, Episode 5, Episode 6, and download them. And indeed, not only was I able to download them, but using screen mirroring, I was able to watch them on my television. So here's the opening scene, and you can tell that this is the 1977 theatrical version because when the title scrolls by, you don't see Episode 4, A New Hope. It simply goes straight into the story. So now I'm going to show you a few short clips so you can see the sound quality as well.
Someone was in the pod. The tracks go off in this direction.
Yes, I bet you have.
What?
Once I figured out where to find the 4K 77 version, and once I watched it, there was no turning back. This version was awesome. The color was vivid, the images were crisp. There were a couple of places where it might have been a little jumpy, but all things considered, it wasn't a big deal and I could live with that. There was no Jabba the Hutt in this version. So having downloaded this version and having seen the quality involved and having it available on a computer to watch anytime that I wanted to, I decided that it was a fool's errand to try to record my VHS tapes. And even though if you're not computer savvy, it's going to take some effort to find it and download it. And even though these are big files, the movies are 4 or 5 gigabytes long, if you can find the space, it's worth the effort to find these versions, download them, and to keep them for yourself so you can enjoy these movies without all the added special effects for posterity. My name's Bill Kovach. I'm the creator and primary contributor to the dantooinefreepress. So I'm fighting cancer and I'm also disabled. If you feel generous enough to make a small one-time donation, you can do so through PayPal. I'll have instructions in the description below. A non-tax deductible donation will go to a special needs trust set up for my benefit that will help pay my expenses. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to our channel and give us a like. Let us know in the comments below what topics you would like to see in the future. And hit that bell button if you would like to receive notification of whenever we release a new video.